Sarah shouted for Pat.
Pat! Pat, quick, it's terrible!
"What's up? Nobody hurt, I hope," shouted Pat as he was tying up his bootlaces.
No, said Sarah, but Ted's left his old lorry right by the village green. The judges are coming to pick the winner for the competition, and it'll be the first thing they see. They'll never give us the prize then. It's such an ugly thing, they'll not notice all the lovely flowers.
"That's easy," said Pat. "We'll ask him to move it. I expect he's gone to mend Mrs. Goggins' roof."
No, he's not at Mrs. Goggins, said Sarah, and nobody can find him. His workshop's locked and empty.
"Oh, now I remember," said Pat. "He's gone to Scotland to Caroline's wedding. I meant to tell you. Yes, he's going to be away for 2 or 3 days, he said. I'd better go and see what I can do." Pat got on his bike and whizzed off to the village. The lorry was still by the village green, just as Sarah had said, with Peter Fogg and Mr. Pringle scratching their heads. They had tried to move it, but it was locked up, with the brakes firmly on, and they could not budge it. "Oh, it's such a pity," said Mr. Pringle. "Right by that village green. The judges simply cannot miss it." "Here comes more trouble," said Peter Fogg. P.C. Selby rode up on his bike.
"Now then, what's going on? Parked vehicle on the highway?"
Peter Fogg and Mr. Pringle explained to P.C. Selby about the lorry and the judges.
"Let's have a look then,"
said P.C. Selby, getting his notebook out.
"Seems quite safe to me. And parking is allowed here. Not part of the highway. Quite legal. Can't do anything to move it. What do you reckon, Pat?"
Pat had met Major Forbes at the post office, and he told him what had happened as they hurried to the green.
"Tell you what, sort of thing we did in my army days," said the Major. "Only one way. Cover it up. Hide it. Camouflage, that's the word."
When Major Forbes saw the parked lorry, he shouted,
"Into action!"
and began telling everyone what to do. Alf came with his tractor and trailer to give a hand, and Peter Fogg loaded it up with more flowers and pots and shrubs. It was soon full. They all helped. Miss Hubbard came with yet more plants on her bike, and Dorothy Thompson found a big roll of pretend grass made of cloth.
"Well done, everybody. Keep it up,"
shouted the Major. They draped the imitation grass over the lorry, making it look like a green hillock. They put the shrubs on, then the flower pots, and a bit of fencing to make it look like a garden. Where did they get that from? Later that day, the phones were ringing again all over Greendale. Dorothy Thompson's phone went first.
Hello? What? Who? Ah, Miss Hubbard, have you heard? We've won.
Won? Said Miss Hubbard. Did you say we've won the best village competition?
The Reverend Timms heard the news on the vicarage phone.
"Lord bless us, what wonderful news!"
Mrs. Pottage ran out to the meadow to tell the twins.
Well, twins, our tops must have helped. We've won after all.
Dr. Gilbertson was just putting the phone down at the surgery.
Yippee! I knew we could do it.
Mrs. Goggins was talking to Pat at the post office.
Well, isn't that just marvellous news, Pat? That'll put Greendale on the front page of the Pencaster Gazette. You never know. We might even be on the television. I hear that the judges liked best of all the special hillock covered with lovely flowers on the village green. Now, I never knew we had any such hillock in the village.
Well, it won't be there too long, said Pat, so you'd better get a good look at it. Yes, the judges couldn't believe their eyes. They came back twice to have another look. P.C. Selby was chatting to the Major in the street.
A day to remember, he smiled. It certainly was, said the Major.
When Ted came back from the wedding, he couldn't find his lorry.
Has anybody seen my lorry? He said. I left it by the village green before I went to Scotland, and it's nowhere to be found now. I think it must have been stolen. Aye, you want to be careful, said P.C. Selby. Leaving unattended vehicles to the danger of the public. Could be an offence, you know. I might have to impose a fine. Let's see if I have a note of any stolen vehicles.
Major Forbes came along with a big grin on his face.
Well, I don't see what's so funny,
said Ted. P.C. Selby riffled through his notebook.
No, not a thing. Nothing about a parked lorry. Only a new hill that appeared from nowhere, and a lot of flowers that covered it, as if by magic.
He nudged the Major, and they fell about laughing.
Ho, 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 said the Major. A magic lorry that turned into a bunch of flowers, what? Will someone please tell me what the joke is, said Ted. And what's happened to my lorry, and what's all this about flowers?
He didn't find his lorry until Pat arrived with his letters. Have a good look at the magic hillock, said Pat.
It's very nice, said Ted, but I want my lorry.
Look a bit closer, said Pat. Ted still didn't know the secret. Then Pat lifted the edge of the grass to show a wheel of the lorry peeping out. Oh, what a surprise Ted had. He laughed as much as anyone. Ted cleared the flowers from the windscreen and drove the magic hillock home. He planted the flowers in his garden. To this day, Ted has one of the best gardens in Greendale, and people come from miles about to see it.
Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat and his black and white cat. All the birds are singing and the day is just beginning. Pat feels he's a really happy man.